Hey guys, Ross here, welcome back to a brand new Tarisland video. In this video guys, I'm going to give you the rundown, or at least me knowledge of the game when it comes to brand new players to the game. As you know, the game will be launching globally on the 21st of June, which is literally just over 2 weeks away. So with that said guys, I'm going to give you my tier list for the best solo classes to be when just starting out. This is for beginner players. If you're a veteran player, you know what class you're going to make. You should probably just not pay attention to this video because you'll probably know better for yourself. But if you're new to the game and you're not really sure what to pick, hopefully this list will help you choose. Now it's important to note before I get into the video guys, this is entirely my opinion. The opinions of whereabouts on the tier list certain classes will go will differ from person to person, so it's entirely up to you. If you want to listen to us, you can completely disregard anything I say. That's entirely up to you. Without further ado guys though, if you would like down below, make sure you have subscribed to the channel, and we're going to get straight into this list. So guys, the way I'm going to structure this tier list in this video is S tier is going to be the easiest class to be for a beginner player. So something that you're going to fly through the quests with. It's really easy to learn the rotations of the character, at least for solo content, and you're not going to struggle to sort of do the main story quest. Not that the main story quest is hard, mind you, but you're not going to struggle and like sort of nearly die on certain aspects of the beginning of the game. So we're going to go through one at a time and give you me why and how and whatever for each position, and we're going to start out with the priest. So then guys, the priest on the game has a DPS spec and a healing spec. Now I wouldn't recommend using the healing spec for soloing because only 2 of your abilities actually do any damage. Everything else is for, well, healing, so it's kind of pointless using that. But as a DPS spec at least, soloing is relatively easy. You can also heal yourself if you target yourself, which I don't think a lot of people realise, which does come in quite handy at times. However, a lot of the high damage and skills for priest are sort of triggered by doing other ones first, and the rotation is not the easiest thing to learn off the bat. Will come to you after a little bit of time, but in the meantime it does get a bit difficult to do. So I wouldn't say this is the easiest one to play in the slightest, but it is one of the ones that are up there. So I'm going to put this at least a B, I would say. Right guys, mage next on the list. Now the mage I found quite difficult a very early game. Obviously later in the game you unlock the fire spec and stuff like that, and it does get really easy. Probably one of the best damage dealers. However, when they're really low level, they're insanely squishy, and I did find myself struggling with a lot of the rotation work on the mage itself and killing certain things solo. So I would put this as one of the harder ones to use as a first time player. So I'm going to put this down in a D. A lot of people will disagree if they play mages a lot, but like I say again, this video is for new players, and I find personally the mage to be very, very hard at the beginning of the game. Alright guys, the first melee class of this list is of course the Shadow Swordsman. This is sort of like the rogue version for this game, and I find this Shadow Swordsman to be relatively easy to learn, and it outputs a lot of DPS for certain sort of single target encounters, so it does pay off very early game to learn this one, because late game, obviously one of the best DPS in the game, so if you learn it, you know, at the start, you're going to really enjoy it at late level. But I do find this one to be an easy one to learn and an easy one to use throughout the beginning of the story. Coincidentally, a lot of the melee classes are really easy at the start of the game, so I would put this one up the top in probably an A. So the newest class to Tarisland before the official full global launch of the game was in fact the Phantom Necromancer, which you're seeing here. And for beginner players, I do think this is one of the best ones to be. It is ranged, but you do get a lot of easy rotations to use with this. And of course, if you really get desperate, you can heal yourself as well, just like the priest. I would rate this very, very high up for new players because it's one of them classes that's very, very easy to learn. The rotations are really easy to learn, and just all round is a good character to be. Next, guys, we've got the warrior, which is in fact the very first type of character I myself actually made on the very first closed beta test I played. Now, I learned the game with this character pretty much, and it will have been a melee hero as well. You would think it would be pretty difficult. However, the warrior is very easy to pump out loads of damage in a short space of time. Also has a whirlwind attack that does tons of damage to groups of enemies at one time. And I found this one specifically, like compared to the mage, for instance, I flew through the solo main story contents, literally flew it. And it's one of the easiest ones to pick up and learn out of nowhere. And you can also swap the tank and be very valuable to higher level groups and stuff like that later on in the game. So I would also probably rank this one at an S rank as well as the Phantom Necromancer. One of the best ones to use as a beginner. Next, guys, we've got the paladin. Now, the paladin has a bit of a difficult learning curve to go along with it, especially for a DPS class. However, this is the one I'll be using as a main character in the upcoming full launch of the game, but I wouldn't recommend it as your first time character very much. It's easy enough to pick up if you know the game well. However, if you're just starting out, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the bum for you, so I wouldn't recommend it that much. However, I'm still going to class it as a B, because if you do focus or you play these types of games quite a lot, you are going to learn it really quickly. But at the same time, it's going to take you a little bit of a while if you are a beginner or it's your first MMO or something like that. You're best off sticking to the ones at the top of the list. Next, guys, we've got the ranger. Now, this is one of my personal favourites to level up because you get a pet. Now, the pet isn't consistent. You do have to summon it, and you do get another one, which is like a little dog sort of thing or a wolf alongside this big tiger you get. And it actually helps because they take a lot of the aggro away from you. Now, the rotation for a ranger, especially early game, is relatively straightforward. You just fire arrows, you spam arrow skills, you poison, and you down them really quickly. And it is really quickly. It does a lot of DPS in a short space of time with the ranger, and I do recommend using it as a new player. Now, when it gets to late levels, I haven't got much experience with the ranger, but I do know it's easy to learn and very easy to sort of explore the world and do the quests and stuff with one. So I would also rate this very high in the S tier. Next, guys, we've got the barbarian fighter. Very, very similar to the warrior in gameplay. However, the rotations for this character are slightly different and a little bit more difficult to understand, especially if you are a new player. So I would recommend you do try this one if you don't like the look of the warrior and you do want to be a lion man, because obviously the appeal of being a big massive lion with hulking muscles and a big mane of hair does come in handy, especially like if you're new to the game. But as a new player, guys, I wouldn't recommend using this one above the warrior. However, if you're up for a challenge, do give it a try. So I'm going to put this down in an A, but that's just because I do think it's really good, but not quite as good for new players as the warrior is. So, guys, last on this list, but not at all the very least, is the bard. Now, the bard is probably one of the best healers in the game, at least if you are going to do dungeons and stuff like that. And you would think, being that said, that it's not very good at DPSing. However, it's not quite the case. It's actually really, really good at DPS, I'll be honest with you. It's really good. I've been out DPSed by one in dungeons several times on my ranger and my warrior and stuff like that. However, it is extremely hard to learn the rotation with his little harp, and I do find that a new player might struggle to out DPS other people with this one and then just swap the healer out of frustration. So while it is one of the best classes to be right now, this may change in the full release of the game. Obviously, this entire tier list could change in the full release of the game. Obviously, with different balance and changes and stuff like that, we don't know what's going to happen. But as it stands right now, this is the way I feel it is. And I think the bard is going to be one of the harder ones to do. So I'm going to put it near the bottom of the list for the least likely ones you should pick as a new player. But like I say, guys, all my opinion at the end of the day, I know a lot of people on the Discord and stuff like that do enjoy bards to the full extent. But like I say, they're pretty good at the game. They know what they're doing. As a new player, I wouldn't recommend this one at all. So then guys, that has been my picks for the easiest classes to be as a beginner just starting Tarisland on the 21st of June this year, literally 2 and a bit weeks away on the full global launch of the game. Now, honestly, you can choose to completely ignore this. I recommend you do choose any class you want. Figure out how hard they are and swap if you need to. But if you do want a better start at learning the game and you need an easy one to play, do recommend you pick some of the STRs I've put in this list, because it will make learning the game and progressing through the main story quest a lot easier for you. So anyway guys, hope you have enjoyed this video. Leave a like down below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel at this point, please make sure you do. I will probably do an updated tier list at some point. I'll also be doing PvP lists and hopefully PvE lists if I do it to a great deal. I'll also be doing guides and walkthroughs and stuff for the game when it does finally release. And also, yeah, I'll be live streaming as well, so if you want to join us on the live stream, feel free. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully. Catch you then.